Hi, I'm Betsy Loring. My husband Doug and I run Natural Warrior Farm and Herbs, and we grow our herbs and harvest them and create products. And I am here today to share with you a little bit about how we dry and store our herbs. So there's a few different methods that you can use, um, although I don't really like using methods that include like the dehydrator, the oven, or the microwave. I don't feel like that unnatural heat is the right way to do it, and I prefer to use the sun and the air and the wind that's given to us to dry our herbs. So I'm going to share with you two of my favorite ways that use natural techniques. So one of the first ways is tying your herbs in a bundle. This is some catnip that I picked earlier today. And I've actually used a rubber band. It's a little bit easier to just quickly tie it up. A few things you need to think about when you're drying your herbs. They need good circulation, so I have not made a really big thick bundle. I've left plenty of room for these leaves to hang and get airflow through them. And then you're allowed to hang and allow the plant to dry like this. Hanging it upside down is done so that the nutrients and the essential oils that make this plant good medicine are able to fall down into the leaves. The one challenge with hanging your herbs is that they shouldn't be in direct sunlight. So when you decide to hang your plants after you harvest them, you need to find a really good spot that's out of the sun. For me, I don't have a good place in my home. I have read that one strategy is to take a paper bag because it breathes and poke holes in it so that you can air it out, and you could, if you did not have a good spot in your home, you could gently put your bundle in the bag to get it in the dark and hang like this. And that is because the sunlight will start to degrade the essential oils. It'll break down those components that are so good in this plant as it dries, but you need plenty of air. So this is one way that can be used, and ideally you're finding a place maybe in a corner of your house or a closet or a good room to hang from. The way that I have really enjoyed drying my herbs that works really well for me because I'm harvesting quite a bit on my land is a drying screen. So this is what I found. I had some old window screens, and every year or in between dryings I go ahead and I sanitize them with essential oils and vinegar. I want to make sure I'm using a clean surface because I'm sharing my plants with other people. And then I'm going to lay my plants out on my screen so that they get plenty of airflow through them. And then I have a drying rack that I can show you that allows airflow, but it's sheltered from the sun. You can do the same thing with your hanging. You could layer stacks of drying racks in a dark room also. I do mine outside because I get the heat, I get the wind, I've got the bird song and everything great helping my plants dry. So here's what my drying rack looks like, just real quick. And you can come up with anything that works. There's solar powered ones. We just have a shelving unit we've put little notches on. I can slide my herbs on their screens. I have a tarp, which also helps me preserve my wood so I'm not decaying it, and I allow my plants to dry in this warm sunny spot by my porch at my home. And they get plenty of airflow, they get sun and heat, and they dry naturally on my drying rack. Once my plants are dry, I make sure they're dry, they're good and crumbly. I'm going to strip my plant off my stalk. My stalk isn't all the way fully dry yet, and that's going to leave moisture, and some of those essential oils that have dropped into my leaves will leach back into my stalk. And I'm not using my stalk in my teas, so I store my herbs in glass. I label before I put it away so I don't have a cupboard full of unknowns. And I just strip my leaves into my jar. And after I strip my leaves into my jar, I leave them as a whole leaf. This is because I want to still hold some of those good essential oils, resins, nutrients that are in my leaf. I'm not going to crush that leaf until I'm prepared to make tea out of it. And that's how I'm going to save some of those valuable components that are being stored in this plant right now. I use glass because it's a much more natural, cleaner way of storing. I don't want things in plastic. You don't have to buy a mason jar or anything fancy. This is just a washed out old, salsa jar, spaghetti jars, anything that's in glass that you can use, you can store in. So once you have it nice and full, make sure it's dry. If it's still got moisture in it and you seal it in this jar, you're going to have a mold problem and you're going to ruin all that hard work of growing these beautiful plants. But I do take it off the stalk. Some people do leave them on the stalk hanging until they're ready to use, but I like to knock my leaves off, put it in my jar, and then crush when it's time to make tea. The only thing, if you're gathering herbs, that I don't store in glass jars, which is not part of our tea garden, but is still good to know if you ever want to go dig yourself some dandelion roots or burdock roots, is my roots. And that's because my roots hold so much moisture in them. And a paper sack is great because it breathes. And you are able to, if you want to finish with your hanging bag of herbs, to store in a paper sack. That's a really good way because you want to allow a little bit of breath so it doesn't mold out. And that's really important with your roots. The other thing you really need to make sure to do if you do go harvest roots is cut them up while they're fresh. So you pre-chop your roots before you dry them on your drying rack, and then you store them in your paper bag. If you don't, you end up, these are marshmallows that I grow on my place, marshmallow root. You have a big old clump that's dried and hard and is like trying to pound up a big old log that you're going to burn in the fireplace, and it's not going to go into your teas good. So that's why if you do choose to go dig dandelion root, burdock root, any root, that is the one herb that I prefer to pre-cut and put in that paper bag so that it'll keep. So after you go through the process of harvesting, you want to dry, making sure that you have good air circulation, good heat, and plenty of warmth, warmth and circulation. Those are your main things you're looking for. Don't leave a clump laying on the table, it'll mold up. Make sure you either hang it or get it on a rack. Give it time to dry. Don't go too long. Just once it's good and crunchy and you know it's ready to go, then you're going to store it in either your glass jar or your paper sack. So those are the basics on how you're going to dry and store your herbs. And if you have any questions as you work through this project, feel free to reach out to Doug or myself. You can get a hold of us through Danielle. And good luck and have fun and enjoy your plants. Thank you.
Thank you to Betsy for doing our drying and storing workshop. I hope that you all learn a lot through this video. And I would like you all to like the video or comment on the video just so I know that you watched it and I can keep track of those. And I'll give you a reminder if I do not see a like or a comment from you. Enjoy the video and look out for the next one.